Hello and welcome. I am Light and this is my channel. Tonight we're going to talk about a missing child. A missing child that disappeared without a trace in Crater Lake National Park on October 14th, 2006. And his name is Sammy Boehlke. Before we get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up, I would appreciate that very much. If you are not subscribed and you would like to be, please do that as well. And if you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, go ahead and click that bell. Let's go. Sammy Boehlke was an 8-year-old boy, and he was last seen by his father, Kenneth, on October 14th, 2006, at around 4 p.m. near the Cleetwood Cove area of Crater Lake. Crater Lake has a spectacular caldera, which is a crater filled by water formed by the explosion of the Cascade Range volcano about 7,000 years ago. Sammy had a passionate personality, which some say bordered on being a little bit stubborn. He also had a mild form of autism. His autism had a couple of symptoms that stood out. One was that he was afraid of loud noises, and he was also afraid of bright lights, which complicates a search at night. There were more than 200 search and rescue workers who arrived at Crater Lake after Sammy's disappearance on October 14th, which meant that they wouldn't be able to use air horns or whistles. They did have a recording of Sammy's mother that they played over and over again to try and draw him out. What had happened was that Sammy and his father had been driving for quite a while, and they had stopped to play tag or hide and seek, one of the two, see if he couldn't run some of his energy out. They were on a cinder slope, and Sammy saw something yellow that he thought might be gold. As it became darker, his dad walked a short distance to the car so the two could return to their rented cabin near Diamond Lake. But Sammy wouldn't go with him. He stayed on the slope, refusing to come down. You know how kids can be. And sometimes parents will say, "Okay then, I'm leaving," and walk away with one eye looking over your shoulder. Well, that's what Kenneth Boehlke did. And then he turned around and chased after him. But Sammy, likely thinking that this was part of the game, stayed about 50 feet ahead. Kenneth is quoted as saying, "I never caught up with him." And at that point, he disappeared over the top somewhere, and I lost him. Kenneth was 48 years old at the time. There were witnesses that were driving by that did say that they saw Kenneth chasing Sammy up the ridge and following him. So that part of his story was verified. The search force quickly increased to 200 people, but Kenneth didn't call for about 2 hours as he looked for Sammy by himself, thinking surely he would come out. Surely he would find him. It was just a game of hide and seek. 200 people combining with dogs, helicopters, heat sensing cameras in an area of 6 square miles, or 4,000 acres. But there was no trace of the boy ever found. Intermittent searching continued after this, despite a heavy snowfall in the area. Sammy was dressed for winter weather. He was wearing a heavy, dark blue jacket. Now, in the mountains in Crater Lake, which has a lot of thick trees and brush, it might be hard to see a blue jacket while searching. But the heat sensing cameras, they didn't catch anything either. The park at 7,000 feet averages more than 500 inches of snow per year. Technical crews searched the slopes leading from the rim of the caldera down to the water, which was a drop of 700 to 1,000 feet, even though it was unlikely that Sammy would have fallen into the lake because of obstacles on the slope. And as I have told my story here about my very, very close friend, my oldest son's second mother, she fell off the rim of that caldera and didn't fall into the lake, even though she fell somewhere between 700 and 1,200 feet because of the trees and brush. She didn't fall down into the lake. Even though Sammy was only 8, he did have camping experience, although no one would say that he had formal training in wilderness survival. Like I said, he was wearing a winter coat. He was wearing a long sleeve t-shirt, cargo pants, and tennis shoes when he went missing. Officials say that they found no clues to his whereabouts after the first day, even though a helicopter had spotted some tracks. But they turned out to be from wildlife. Some people say that they find it a little strange that a boy of Sammy's age who was just quote-unquote slightly autistic would just run off into the woods for no reason and keep going further and further. But others who have autistic children who are also afraid of lights and or noises say that that is completely typical for their children, and that they would expect their children to do the same thing. That once they got their mind set on something, that was it. They were gonna stick to their guns. So if he thought he was looking for gold and then saw his father running back towards him, he probably thought that his father was engaging in the game again of tag or hide and seek, whichever they were playing. However, another angle of this is that given that it would be cold, his basic instinct might be to turn around and come back to his father's voice, since his father was calling for him and calling for him, even if he had been hiding for over an hour and a half. But he didn't. He disappeared. And since 2006, there's never been any of his clothing found. There's never been any proof that he was there, except for the eyewitness and the father who last saw him. People hike over there all the time. If animals had gotten his bones at some point, they would have been scattered, as would his clothes. They would have showed up. But they never have. So, what happened to Sammy? How does an 8-year-old boy disappear without a trace, with his father 50 feet behind him, chasing him, with the searchers saying that he did not fall down the caldera, that they would have found him when they were searching? Thank you for coming to my channel. If you would like to, please give this video a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And if you'd like to be subscribed, please push that button. Please share the video. And if you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, please click that bell. Good night.